So much for helping out, and thanks for guildies joining at the last minute since we needed some extra bodies to fill, some extra help. Go ahead, step in. We're just going to do normal for the teaching raid, and just go to the end of the hall, and there's going to be like a yellow shimmery barrier thing that you're going to click on, and then just you're going to be in a little staging area room and just hang out there. Don't click on anything once you get in there. So we're going to have to go over a bit of explanation before we get things started. As always, you know, for those who are here to learn, if you have any questions, please ask. And don't hesitate to interrupt me, otherwise I'm just going to keep explaining things. And the folks on Twitch, you know, please ask questions if you're learning this raid as well. Love to hear from viewers on Twitch. If you know, if you're new to it and still learning this, if you think that's brave, hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for notifications. But my attention is going to be mainly focused here on the folks in person, but I'm going to be answering viewer questions in Twitch chat when I can. So let's see. Anna Deer, what is your experience with this raid? Have you done it before and still learning, or is this your first time? First time ever. Awesome. Well, happy to have you. Okay, so what you see is pretty much most of the raid. There are 4 like medium-sized elemental chambers that will be going in later. And I want to emphasize for those few people who are here to help that we will not be going into the elemental chambers right away. Please do not go in there. We're going to wait until we kill the first 3 mini-bosses before doing that. Different groups may do things differently, but that's the way we're going to do it today for the teaching raid. So if you look around the room, let's see, once we go in there, there's going to be the 4 mini bosses, and the main boss Quaspiel's in the middle, but he's not active until the end. And the 4 mini bosses are from the flagging quest. So you got Rudis the Minotaur, you got Gish the Gnoll, you got Urk the Goblin, and then you got Zalkis the Tiefling. Urk is going to be flying around on a Soar Sled. So important roles in here are one, like a main tank who's going to grab whatever mini boss that you're working on, because we've got to beat all 4 of them down. And then it can be nice to have an off tank too to grab the other mini bosses that the party's not currently working on. And then you want to have somebody grab Urk's aggro, like a ranged player. Since Urk is flying around a Soar Sled, you want to have like a ranged player that can shoot at Urk, get his attention, and Urk throws these like magical javelins at you or something, and they do like 1,000 damage, like even on normal. So, you know, I posted in the post that, you know, we got multiple bosses in these raids that can do like 1,000 damage even on normal. This is not a raid that's good for like lower epic tunes. This is an end game raid, although it is like 6 years old now. So not as challenging when you're coming in here on 34s as back in the day when you were on 30s. In any event, so main tank, you know, especially on lower difficulties, I think a decent tank is going to be able to grab all the aggro. You don't need an off tank, and there's even ways to sort of like trick out the other mini bosses. Like somebody could grab their aggro and just kind of, there's a way you can position them over on the side so that like they're on one side of like a column and they can't get to you. So some people might do that too. But since we have a main tank, we have 2 tanks, we'll do main tank, off tank. So Bolo Grub's going to be our main tank, and he's going to grab Rudis first. And then I'm going to grab Gish and Zalkis. And then Soulmind is going to be our Urk tank, and he's going to grab Urk's attention. And what Soulmind's going to do, he's going to shoot at Urk to get his attention, and then he's going to basically hide behind one of the pillars. And always making sure to keep an eye on Urk, and always have that pillar between himself and Urk, because that way, you know, the javelin hits the pillar and not him. It can be even good to have somebody back up that role, because if the Urk tank guy goes down, then you got Urk throwing 1,000-point javelins at the party and just picking people off. So it can definitely be nice to have someone in place to back the Urk tank up. The reason why we're going to beat Rudis down first is because he's the biggest threat. So he's another mini boss that does like 1,000 damage with his attack. When he's going to do this ground pound attack where he's going to jump really high in the air, and when he hits the ground, if you're on the ground within about, I don't know, a good 75-foot radius, it's a really big radius, you're going to take like 1,000 damage. And if you're new to this, I'm going to want you to feel that damage. Not because I want to troll you and kill you, but because I want you to see and feel how much damage these bosses are doing. But, normally you're going to want to jump. Like we might even call out jump. When he's in the air, jump and make sure you're in the air when he's before he lands. If you're more than 75-ish feet away from him, if you're ranged or caster, then you might not have to worry about that. But it is a really large AoE. After Rudis, then we're going to, bring Gish over to the tank. And we're going to be Gish down. He's probably the second biggest threat because he has got a pretty devastating whirlwind attack that can do a lot of damage. He's pretty squirrely when he does that. And then we'll beat down Urk and then Zalkus. When we beat down the mini bosses, you can't just, kill them and move on. You have to shoot them with a laser to finish them off. So if you look in the center of the zone, you'll see a big purple laser hanging from the ceiling. There are controls to operate the laser. You can move it, across the grid. You'll see there's like cyan colored like nodes. That's where the laser can move to. So it just moves from like node to node. And so what you have to do is like position the laser above the mini boss. And we like to designate a spot actually right where Rudis is right now. That's like our designated spot to take the bosses at. So we want to beat Rudis down there and all the mini bosses down, well, most of them. And then, the laser will be there. And it's really tight timing. I mean, you literally have maybe 3 seconds at best that when that mini boss goes down to get that laser fired on him. So the laser operator's responsibility is going to be to get the laser in position and then fire it as soon as that mini boss goes down. The laser operator may also take responsibility, as Nimvind will, that's Maniac Boy, of doing the puzzles behind the controls. So if you look to the far left, you'll see there's 2 puzzles on the wall. The controls for the lasers are just kind of out of sight. They're at the base of that pillar, or that column. And to power up the laser, I believe it's the puzzle on the right has to have the node or the rune at the bottom of the puzzle. There's one rune like sticking out at the bottom in the center. That has to be lit in order for the laser to be to be powered. Or is it both of them, Nimvind? Is it both of them or just the one?
The one to the left is the fire elemental puzzle, and it's the closest one to the one to the right, which is the one that controls the energy of the laser. So you loop it around to the one to the right, and you power down the crest on the bottom, avoiding lighting anything in the middle.
Okay. So in addition to the other roles that I've described, we're also going to have a couple people work on trash, which is the giant metallic beetle things that you see over there by the puzzles. Those are going to spawn periodically throughout the raid, and what they're doing is they're messing with your puzzles. Now, this is an unusual thing to do. Normally, you want to like solve puzzles, but here we actually want to keep them undone. We want to keep the runes unlit. But just the runes like in the main body of the puzzle. So like the main 3x5 body of the puzzle. The nodes, the little circle things on the sides, those can be lit because what those do is that these act like a circuit. There are puzzles in every corner, and the nodes carry the energy to the adjacent puzzle. If any of the runes are lit in the main body of any of the puzzles, then there's an invisible timer that counts down, which is 5 minutes. And if that invisible timer counts down to 0, we will automatically fail the raid. You'll be able to tell approximately how much time is left because every minute that any rune is lit, one of the spiral bands on that big door straight across from us will disappear. So if you start noticing spiral bands disappearing, that's bad. You'll also be able to tell, if you look to the right of the big door, you'll see a blue barrier like up the wall a bit, and there's runes underneath it. There's 5 runes at the bottom. Those correspond to the main body runes of the puzzles. So if any of those 5 runes are lit, you know there's a rune on a puzzle somewhere that's lit, and that's bad. The rune at the very bottom of the puzzle doesn't matter. It's just the runes in the main body of the puzzle. And sometimes there's some confusion, like, and this happened in our guild raid recently, where the people that were assigned to trash duty were, messing with the puzzles over by the laser, but like Nimbin's going to take care of those. And they have to be like, he's got to send the power to the laser by lighting the very bottom center rune that's to the right, from our perspective, to the right of the controls. So don't mess with those 2 puzzles, please. Very important. And like I said, you want to unsolve the puzzles. The job of the trash killers is to not only kill the metallic beetles, but to make sure that those center runes are not lit. The runes in the main body of the 3x5 puzzle. And they're going to be doing that trash duty basically for the whole raid. So we're going to beat down the mini bosses one at a time, fire off the laser to finish them off when they fall. And then after we finish the first 3 mini bosses, then we're going to start going into the elemental chambers. And by the way, after a boss is killed with the laser like takes on their essence or something, and it will turn color like white or blue or green or whatever. And then that essence has to be discharged. And so what you have to do is you have to have somebody stand like under the laser, I believe on one of those power pads. Like we just have people stand on the power pad nearest the laser, like in the far left corner. And then somebody has to be standing there, and then Nimbin will shoot the laser. The laser doesn't hurt players. So it's not like the laser in Titan that can kill you. This laser will not hurt players. And then if somebody's standing there, then they will get a little circle around them, like kind of like a targeting circle, but it'll be white, red, green, or blue corresponding to the elemental chambers. Red is for fire, green is for earth, blue is for water, and white is for air. 3 people will get that circle, and only those 3 people will be able to enter that corresponding elemental chamber. If you got a red circle, you can go into the fire. You can see that, and if you look on the left, you'll see there's a red teleport pad over there with a red circle around it. If you look on the right, you'll see there's a blue one. If you look down, like right at the edge where I'm standing, if you look basically straight down, there's the white circle there. And then on the other side, if you look straight down, there's the green circle there. So the people who are keyed to those circles can go in. So you want to have like DPS on those platforms to get those circles. And like I said, like 3 people, 1 person on the pad, and then 2 other people basically at random will be assigned. If you get, it's possible you could get like people that you don't want to go in there. Like let's say you're tank and you're healer, and only 1 other person got the, red circle, and you're like, we can't send our tank and healer in there. What you can do is you can recall them out. There's an option at the laser controls to recall people out of there, and then you can refire the laser and basically reassign 3 people to that task if needed. But we're not going to go into those elemental chambers until the first 3 mini bosses are beat down, and the reason for that is because I just want to get these mini bosses out of the way. And if everybody's going into their elemental chambers at the time that they're assigned, then what can happen is there might not be enough people in here to lock things down and to keep things under control. So don't go into elemental chambers until we say. Once all 4 mini bosses have been beat down, and all 4 elemental chambers, the elementals, there's just an elemental in there, and the elemental is going to do circles. Stay out of the circles. They explode with corresponding elemental damage. Once the elementals are beat down and all 4 mini bosses are beat down, then Quaspiel, the main boss, will activate. He will resurrect all 4 of the mini bosses. We'll need to beat them down. And this time we don't have to kill him with the laser. It's just a regular beatdown. And once we beat down all 4 of the mini bosses again, then we're going to beat down Quaspiel, and then we win. I know that was a lot, but once this raid gets started, it's basically non-stop action until you finish. Any question? I'll be calling it all out at the time, but any questions before we get started? I'm going to need 2 trash killers. 2 folks on trash duty to kill trash and unpuzzle. Soul Mine's going to be our Urk tank. Nimmin's going to be the laser operator. Bolo Grub's going to be our main tank. I'll be off tank. Okay, Tanya can do it. And Troy's can do it. Thank you, guys. Alright, let's get any last second buffs here. And then we're going to get started. This raid will take about... you know, it can take about 10 to 15 minutes once it gets started. Possibly longer if things are unorganized. Because if you don't fire the laser at the mini boss when they go down, if you get the timing off, the mini boss gets right back up and you got to beat him down again. So if you have an unorganized group, you know, this can go, just go on forever. I'm gonna talk to Lieutenant Zara Dane first and say no time to go in now, otherwise you can go through a lot of dialogue. And then I'm going to choose open the way at the speaking stone. We're going to let the tanks go in first. So me, Bolo, and Soul Mine, who's going to grab Urk, are going to go in first. And then everybody else can follow us about 5 seconds later. Okay, tanks, go ahead and go in. Everybody else wait a moment. And go ahead and come in, everybody. See, I just took 1100 damage from one of Urk's javelins. And I'm a tank. Alright, if you're not assigned a job, you can beat down Rudis. You can see Bolo Grub has him there. But don't kill him yet, because we want to make sure that the laser's powered up and in position. Don't beat on Gish or Zalkus or Urk. If you don't have a job, beat on Rudis. Let us know when the laser's ready. I'm going to puzzle in the south east that needs to be unpuzzled.
Lasers in position. Construct lasers good start.
Go ahead and take down Rudis. Get ready on laser.
Ready.
Fire. If he didn't get the timing right, a little shield would pop up and he'd get right back up. Good job. Alright, now Gish is getting pulled over. Beat down Gish if you don't have a job.
You get the one on the pad?
Oh yeah. We need DPS on the pad. Great. Laser's been fired off.
I'm gonna get back in position.
Excellent. Laser's in position. Go ahead and take down Gish. If he moves off the pad, stop DPS. As I said, he's really squirrely. Is the raid stream proof? I don't even know what that means. Get ready on laser.
Ready.
Fire. Let's hope that's close enough. He moved at the last second. Okay, that was a missed shot because he moved at the last second, so we'll have to beat down Gish. I'm glad that happened, so you can see, like, you know, that how close he's got to be, and we'll just have to beat him down again, no problem. Not a whole lot you can do to avoid what just happened because, you know, he just moves around so much. Fire. That should be a hit. Great. Good job. Alright.
DPS on the pad.
DPS on pad so he can fire off the essence. And then we can go ahead and kill Urk wherever he is, because we're going to have a reprieve from Quaspiel's regeneration. So if we kill Urk now, Quaspiel's like distracted. So just go ahead and kill Urk wherever he is. This is almost like a free kill. So we have plenty of time before he's going to actually get regenerated. And so Nimbin's moving the laser over to Urk, and he's firing it. And perfect. Urk is dead. Now we need DPS on the pad. I'm gonna go ahead. Actually, nobody get on the pad. I want to go in to show it on the live stream. Everybody else off the pad. Kill trash. We got the emissary there and some other double trash mobs. Go ahead and kill that. Once the trash is cleared up, then we're gonna go into our elemental chambers. So Nimbin's moving the laser over to me.
Sorry, I'm getting some visual lag.
No problem. We're doing great. Okay, I got the white circle.
Wizard, your life force is running out.
Somebody got some food for that wizard. You could use like another quarter for 700 more health. All right, go ahead and go into your corresponding elemental chambers. Sometimes the circles don't want to show up. I guess it's just like a graphics bug or something. But if you don't see the circle, and you know, if you have a colored circle around you and you can't find your elemental chamber, just say something. The circles will explode. So this is all the elemental chambers are basically rooms like this. And they're going to have like a big fire elemental or big water elemental or air earth elemental. And that earth elemental, by the way, will fall to the ground if everybody's on the ground. And once your elemental is dead, which ours just died in air, then there's going to be a portal that goes back. That's weird. It's like I got automatically recalled. Okay, Zalkus is a little bit temperamental. He moves around and D-doors a lot. So I feel like the best way to kill... What?
I have Zalkus and Dagger at the moment.
Okay. So once you start shooting at Zalkus, really best not to move, because otherwise he's going to keep repositioning and he's going to move out from under the laser. And... yeah, let's see, you can move, there we go. So don't move now, just range him down, don't melee him, get ready on laser fire. Perfect, we got him. So now we need DPS on the pad so that Nimbin can fire off the essence.
Once this element is done, all the energy to all the puzzles is dead.
Thank you. So the puzzles don't matter anymore once this elemental chamber is done. Notice that we have all spirals on the door. If you have a circle, a colored circle around your feet, go into the corresponding elemental chamber. So this is the last elemental chamber. Once the elemental is dead, we'll do the final beatdown. I'll go ahead and grab Quaspiel now, Bolo. And then so we're going to do things in a little bit different order. So when he resurrects the 4 mini-bosses, Urk will not be airborne yet. So we're going to have all DPS on Urk. All DPS on Urk. When it happens, we'll call it out when it's happening. But that way we can get Urk out of the way before he goes airborne. Then we're going to beat down Rudis, Gish, Zalkus, and then finally Quaspiel. If you kill Quaspiel before the mini-bosses are dead, he will regenerate. Okay, the final elemental chamber is cleared. And now Quaspiel is going to resurrect the 4 mini-bosses. Urk will appear right here where Maniac Boy's jumping up and down. So I want all DPS on Urk. Bolo Grub will grab Rudis. And I'm going to grab Gish and Zalkus and hold them out of the way. Voodoo had that fail on purpose. Voodoo's forcing us to fail. Okay, all DPS on Urk. For Zalkus, I'm going to use my single target shield. Once Urk is dead, work on Rudis. Remember to jump when he's in the air. Rudis is dead. I'm bringing Gish over. It doesn't matter where they die now. It doesn't matter. We don't have to worry about the laser. It's just a regular beatdown now. I use my single target Knight's Challenge to pull Quaspiel over without pulling the other mobs. Alright, beat down Zalkus next. Notice he detoured around. Alright, Quaspiel is the final boss. Quaspiel and we win. Any questions about Project Nemesis? And congratulations on your first completion. Can we get a close-up explanation of the puzzles? Yes. Let's go ahead and loot first. Good luck. And let's go ahead and go to the laser controls over here where I'm jumping up and down. And I don't... Can the puzzles be manipulated? Yes, they can. But they're not lit now because it's the elemental chambers that power the puzzles, okay? So... You know, you can see right here, there's 2 runes in the main body, in the main, like, 5x3. Those runes have to stay unlit in all the puzzles, so you need to, like, direct the light around those. The rune at the bottom, the one sticking out at the bottom, doesn't matter. That can be lit. That doesn't hurt anything. And the nodes, these circular nodes on the sides, those are, remember I said it's kind of like a circuit, and those will actually send energy to the next one over. So, like, if this lower left-hand node was lit, then that is sending energy over to this node. And then over here, you can see we have 2 more runes in this main body of the puzzle that need to stay unlit. If any of those runes in the main body of the puzzle are lit, then if you come over here, those correspond to these runes here on the floor. And if any of these runes are lit, that's when your invisible timer is counting down. And like I said, you'll know approximately how much time is left by looking at the spiral bands on the big door. For every minute that you've lost, one of those spiral bands will disappear. So, you know, if you're losing spiral bands, something's wrong. And if you ever see 0 spiral bands, you're less than a minute from failure. So, you know, you need it's clutch time at that point. Okay. So this is the laser controls. Oh, this is pretty good. So the way the laser works is that you'll know it's powered up if these runes are lit, okay? And that corresponds to the rune behind the puzzle, the one at the bottom. If these aren't lit, it's not powered up, and these switches won't work. So this just moves the laser like forward, and this is backwards, and that's left, and that's right, and then the center button fires. You can also talk to the speaking stone. Remember when I said, like, sometimes you get a bad distribution of the circles, and, you know, like if your tank and healer get a circle, and then, you know, some other... you know, squishy player, you know, that it's not who you want to send into the circle. So what you can do is you can talk to the speaking stone and tell them to recall the people out of there. And then that'll put the essence back in the laser, and then you would fire it back off to, you know, get to somebody else on the pad. And, you know, then 3 other random people. Well, 1 person on the pad, and then 2 other random people will be selected to go in there. And hopefully there'll be a better distribution of players.